Hello and welcome back. Lady Joyful here for Sasayaki Glitter, and today is release day over at Sasayaki Glitter and we have some new images to play with, so I have made a video featuring one of the new images. This is Yee Haw Harriet, which is a very sweet little cowgirl image. So I'm starting by colouring in her skin. Now I use, I think it's 6 shades usually for doing my skin tone. This is just my go-to skin tone. I need to have a play with doing other ones. So I started by laying down my lightest colour all over her skin. Normally when I'm colouring I go from darkest to lightest, but with skin I find it easiest to put the lightest colour first and then go in with the darkest. So I then added in the darkest in the shadow areas, specifically paying attention to that brim of the hat because that would cast quite a large shadow. And then I will move on to my next darkest colour, and here I'm just bringing the shadows out and adding shadow, for example, to the left hand side of the face and the left hand sides of the arms. I usually do my shadows on the left side as if the light is coming from the right hand side. I just find it easiest to be consistent with where the shadows are coming from if there is not a specific light source. And then I just keep on moving through to lighter and lighter colours. This is my second lightest colour now, and I did add a slight shadow on the right hand side of the face just to give it some rounding, even though that's where the light would be. I'm just drawing all my shadows out and making sure they're nice and blended, and then I will go back in with my lightest colour and blend across it all over again. And you could add in features as you colour, for example adding shape to the nose, but I haven't really practiced doing that, so I just kept my shading quite basic. So then I'm going to move on to colouring the hair, and again it's important to pay attention to where the cast shadow of the hat would be on the hair, and consider where the shadow is on the skin and make sure that it lines up properly, because it is one shadow across the whole skin and hair area. So I'm flicking in my darkest brown for her hair. I decided to go brunette for her today. And then I will move into flicks of colour with my next darkest brown. And I have not coloured plaits before, pigtails, so I did struggle a bit with getting the shape of that. It worked out alright in the end, but I definitely need more practice with it. And now I will go in with my lightest colour and just fill it all back in. Sometimes I do go back in and go over the hair all over again just to increase the depth of colour, but I didn't do that this time. So then I'm going to move on to colouring her outfit, and I will start with the hat. And I wanted brown again, but I didn't want it to be too similar to her hair. I didn't want them to kind of blend together. So I'm using some different browns now. These are Yosoo alcohol markers, which are just some inexpensive alcohol markers that I picked up as my very first ones. The other pens I was using are Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers. So here again I'm going in and laying in my shadows first, which are primarily over on the left hand side, but you can see where the brim of her hat bends up. If the light is coming from the right hand side, that up bend is going to be in shadow because it's kind of blocking the light from itself, which is why that area is darker. And then I did choose a Spectrum Noir Illustrator marker as my lightest brown here. I did have a little trouble with blending it out. I had to go over it quite a lot, and then I actually switched to the bullet tip rather than the brush tip. I just find that's easier if I really need to work over a particularly stubborn area that's not wanting to blend. I find it easier to use the bullet tip for doing that. And I'll just keep blending that in until I'm happy with the blend, and keep working it. It took a little while to get the colours to blend together because they weren't a perfect match, but I got there eventually, and I used the same colours on her waistcoat and trousers. I just did that off screen. Then I'm going to colour in the band of her hat, and I decided to go with dark greens for this. So again, I put the shadow areas on either end and the lightest in the middle, and I used the same shades of green to colour in her little scarf and the bands on her hair. Then I'm using a couple of different shades of yellow to colour in her star on her hat as well as on her waistcoat. For her shoes, I decided to go with black shoes. I could have done brown, but there was already a lot of brown, so I thought black, or very dark grey actually in this case, would be the better choice. There are highlights drawn into the image on her shoes, but I just colour straight over those and I will add them back in at the end. So I'm using 3 dark grey shades to do the shoes, and I will use the same shades to colour in her soles. And I'm adding for the soles, the darker colours at the outside edges and the lighter colour in the centre, which just helps add shape. Then for her shirt, I decided I would leave it as a white shirt, so I'm just using my lightest greys, and these are again Yosoo alcohol markers. I'm using the lightest greys to just add shading and shape to her sleeves, and then I will use my blender pen just to blend it out and help it look more natural. Then here I'll go in with my white gel pen. I'm adding the highlights back to the shoes as I said I would, and I also just added a little highlight onto the 2 stars as well. That completed the colouring of the image, so now I'm moving on to creating the rest of the card. I decided I wanted to mount the image on some green card, but I didn't have any that matched. So I'm using the same green pens that I had used to colour her scarf and the band on hat to colour the paper that I will be matting on. And I decided to have a blend of colours rather than a flat colour. And I did have to do tip to tip technique to get them to blend properly. And then I have this pattern paper from my stash that this paper is actually the reason I decided to play with this image, because I knew it would go perfectly with this pattern paper. So I'm trimming it down so I can create the layout I want. I made another panel of green paper to mat this strip onto, and I didn't colour it all the way across because I knew my image would be covering it. I also cut out 2 little hexagon panels, and I'm going to be laying them back in, and I created mats in the same manner with the green for those as well. I decided to use a craft card base, and I've covered it with double-sided tape, and then I'm just laying all of my pieces into place on the tape. I just found this was the easiest way to do it. And before I lay each piece into place, I'm just making sure that they're the right way around so that the pattern on the paper will be consistent. I wouldn't want to put it in upside down because that would annoy me. And then finally I'm just going to mount the image, and I will use my T-square ruler to make sure that I have her lined up straight before pressing her into place, which completes my card for this release image. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. You can click on the buttons on screen now to subscribe to my channel and to the Sasayaki Glitter channel, and there are also some more videos that you might be interested on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next time. Bye!